Okay guys, hello. My name's Edward and welcome to Edward Reads Books. This is essentially just going to be a channel, a little sort of hobby really for me to talk about my love of books and love of reading. Now, I'll be honest, I'm quite a new reader by all accounts. I didn't really start enjoying reading until my sort of mid-20s. I'm now 28 now. So I've not really been a massive reader for too long, but I think it's sort of in my mid-20s I became really interested in reading and literature, and I spend like most of my evenings after work kind of reading, especially before I go to bed. So I devote quite a lot of my time to it, and I thought as a little hobby that I wanted to do a little YouTube channel. So essentially this channel is going to be just about me talking about different books that I've enjoyed reading, some books that I'm looking forward to reading, and if any of you guys have any recommendations as to what I should go ahead and read, I would love you to comment in the box below and give me any suggestions. So I'll get straight into it. These are some of the books that I have read recently. If you have read any of these, let me know what you think of them. The first one is The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. This is essentially a novel that is set in Nazi Germany. It's narrated by Deaf, which is really interesting because I've read quite a few books about World War II and the Nazi occupation of Germany, and I don't think any of them have really told it by essentially Deaf, which I thought was really interesting. It's essentially about a girl who is sent to live with foster parents. And she ends up collecting books as a way to cope with the horrid realities of war, essentially. And just the way it's written is just absolutely brilliant. Like, the characters are amazing in this book. It's just so well written, and I can understand why so many people love this book. Because I personally think this is probably one of the easiest 5-star books I think I could have given, really, and I would encourage anyone to read this, especially if you have an interest in World War II, and just the occupation of Nazi Germany in general. Like, I would really encourage you to give this a go. The next one I read was Fyodor Dostoevsky's White Nights. Now, I have a Russian partner, and I apologize if I've pronounced this wrong, but this is White Nights. So this is essentially a story that's narrated by a man who's walking around St. Petersburg. He meets this woman, and he ends up essentially falling in love with her. A few things happen in the book, but it's what you would call a classic book. It's relatively easy to get through. I mean, it's only just checking the page. Yeah, it's only about 100 or so odd pages. Really easy to get through. Again, a really good book. And yeah, I would really recommend you read it. Next one. Chris Broad's Abroad in Japan. I actually follow Chris's channel on YouTube. If you don't know it, guys, it's called Abroad in Japan. He has a really good YouTube channel. If you've got an interest in Japan, or even if you like traveling, this is a really good book, and I would implore you to go ahead and read it. I really enjoyed this one, and I got through it very quickly. Okay, next one. This is An Evil Cradling by Brian Keenan. God, this one was absolutely fantastic. I mean, it was really dark and it was really difficult and gritty to read, but it was absolutely brilliant. So Brian Keenan is essentially an Irish journalist. He was kidnapped for about 4.5 years by Islamic jihadi captives. And it's basically all about his time in captivity and in solitude, and just some of the things you read about in this is just honestly horrific, but it's so fascinating to read. Again, I would recommend anyone to read this. So that is Brian Keenan's An Evil Cradling. Really, really good. Okay, next one. This is a book that I know a lot of people on YouTube have talked about, specifically Nick Parry from Books Are Sick and Jack Edwards. This is Claire Keegan's Small Things Like These. Again, this is absolutely brilliant. This is another short book. I think it's only about 100 or so pages, but the amount of detailed information in it and the detail in the writing is just honestly phenomenal. It's essentially set in a small Irish town, and it follows a coal and timber merchant, and he basically makes some shocking kind of discoveries about the town. So yeah, again, this is another one that will not take you that long to get through, but I would really, really recommend you reading it, because it is the writing is just honestly incredible. Really, really good. Okay, next one. This is by Jacqueline Hartman. This is I Who Have Never Known Men. This is one of the best books that I've read this year. Honestly, absolutely incredible. It's a dystopian novel. It's essentially about group of 40 women that are held imprisoned underground with no memory of life before being held in captivity. I'm not going to say too much more about this, other than if you haven't read this book, go ahead and read it, because it is absolutely incredible. Really, really recommend. Okay, next one. This is Bob Mortimer's The Satsuma Complex. I picked this one up at a charity shop. If you don't know Bob Mortimer, he's a Northeast comedian. I'm myself from Newcastle, and Bob Mortimer's from sort of the Middlesbrough area. Just a really, really fun novel, and I've read his autobiography, which was pretty good as well. Yeah, quite an easy novel to get through. Would recommend. Okay, next one that I read was Ian Banks' The WASP Factory. This is like a dark, gothic novel, basically about a boy, like 16-year-old. Sorry, I've written some notes down just because this is my first video, and just wanted to have a few things prepared. It's about a 16-year-old, and it's basically set on a remote Scottish island, and his dad's quite eccentric, and he has these, Frank, the main character, has these weird kind of rituals, and it's all a bit like, he's all a bit kind of odd, but there is one massive twist at the end that just, like, when I read it, my jaw just dropped. It was really, really good. So yeah, Ian Banks' The WASP Factory, pretty good. And then the final one that I read recently was Jack Kerouac's On the Road. This is essentially about three friends that are traveling around America, set in the 50s. For me, I tried to like this book, but I really, really couldn't get into it. I don't know how other people feel about it. A lot of the language is quite outdated, because obviously it was essentially set in the 1950s. I'm not too sure when it was written, but yeah, even if I put the language issue aside, I just really struggle to get into this book. So let me know, guys, what you think about this. I read it personally just because people had talked about it being a classic. So I just wanted to give it a go, essentially. So yeah, that's all the books that I read recently. So let's talk about some of the books that I am looking forward to reading. So what I'm currently reading right now is Shuggie Bain by Douglas Stewart. And I'm about 190 pages into this. I think it's about a 400-page book. So far, this is one of the best books that I've read this year. It's essentially set in 1980s Glasgow, and it follows a boy growing up in a kind of like working class neighborhood, and his mum is a sort of a crippling alcoholic, and it's kind of details about her life as well, and it's quite a depressing and gritty and at times quite a difficult read, but like, my god, is it good. It's really, really good so far, and I'm really excited to read the rest of it. So some books that I want to read soon that are on my shelf that I'm kind of looking forward to reading. First one is by Yuval Noah Harari, and that is Homo Deus. I have read Sapiens, thought Sapiens was really good. Quite a lengthy read, this one, but I'm sure it's going to have some really interesting information. So we'll see how I get on with this one, and I'll let you guys know. The next one, I picked this up in Waterstones, and this was Burnham Wood. Yeah, Burnham Wood, sorry, shall I say, by Eleanor Catton. I don't know too much about this one other than it's a thriller. So if you guys have any comments about this book, please let me know, because, again, this is one that I'm also looking forward to reading. Okay, and then the final one that I wanted to talk about is Tom Cheshire's Slow Trains to Istanbul. Now, I got this for my dad for his birthday. I have a massive passion for travel, and any books that are kind of related to travel I'm more than likely going to enjoy. And I had a look on Goodreads, and this one had really excellent reviews. The guy who writes it is essentially a train enthusiast, but it talks about his whole journey through most of Europe and then obviously following through into Asia. And I'm just really excited to read this. I've got a massive passion in terms of travel, and for me, this just completely stuck out as something that I needed to read. So I'll go ahead and read this. So yeah, really looking forward to it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, guys. As I say, this is like my first video, so if you've got any kind of tips for me or anything that you think I should read, then please let me know. If not, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and yeah, thank you. Cheers.